I've just looked at the Erigaisi Carlsen game from the last round of Norway Chess. But let's look at the other crucial encounter. Fabiano Caruana playing white against Gukesh Domaraju playing black. Both these players, depending on other results, still had a chance to win the tournament if they won this game. So both players wanted something sharp, wanted to really go for it. A Gioco Piano from Caruana, and an interesting move. Gukesh goes for h6, so that keeps real tension in the position, and is potentially quite aggressive. I know I'm always giving out about these little pawn moves at the side of the board, but the point is this, that if white is playing quite slowly, then black can get away with this as well. And Gukesh wants to post his bishop on a slightly more aggressive post on a long diagonal. But it's cagey stuff so far. You can see the forces haven't quite engaged yet. So it's a classic Gioco Piano. But it does mean that, no exchanges. So the real fight is deferred to later. So bishop e6, we have our first exchange here. So that changes the structure. And Caruana flips the knight round to g3. So we've got g5 on the board, which makes it unlikely that Gukesh is going to castle kingside, not with the pawns so far advanced. And indeed, he goes queenside. So that guarantees a real fight. I suppose Caruana could play castles queenside, but no. There's no need for that. I mean, he wants to go for it as well. b4, and particularly with this pawn on a6, that gives a little hook to open up a file. So this is really double-edged. d5. Okay. There's a threat to play d4 to win a piece. And d4. I'm just zipping through these first moves because it's a very long game and I want to focus on a few critical moments. So finally, Caruana on move 19 decides to castle kingside. And with the knights here, it's a pretty solid place for the king. 3 pawns and 2 knights in front of the king. Should be okay, even if there's potential for a hook here. But this is much faster. In fact, it looks terrifying. Terrifying for black. Knight e5, knight h5, good move. So looking at the bishop, but also making sure that these pawns aren't advancing, basically. Bishop e5, yeah, moving the bishop away from the knight. And Caruana cracks open the b file, so this already looks very pleasant. But Gukesh, he's not backing down. He played queen takes a3, swiping a pawn. Wow. Well, I guess he probably thought, if I'm going to be under attack, I may as well grab a pawn for it. Rook c1. So we've got 2 semi-open files with those rooks bearing down on the king. Bishop d6. So at least the bishop protects this one. And that makes room for the knight to come to e5. And Caruana thought for some time here, came up with a very interesting move. e5. The idea is that if the bishop drops back, then let's say rook b1, hitting here, and then you can see that with the pawn advance, this square is available, and the queen comes into the attack. That's really dangerous. So after e5, Gukesh played quite an extraordinary move, actually, rook f5. So it gets really tactical now. So there's a pin. If pawn takes bishop, then rook takes rook. But this is where the tactics really start. Caruana played rook takes knight, so sacking in exchange, and rook a5. So attacking the queen, defended by the bishop. So it means when the queen moves away, for example, queen b3, then it's possible to take here because the bishop defends the rook. And something like this, well, there are two minor pieces against a rook, but this is better for white because that knight bounces around to this beautiful e4 square. When minor pieces have good, solid protection, then they're better than the rook. So that's why after rook a5 this happened. Queen moved to b2. Caruana took, and rook a5. So you can see there's a pin. So bishop takes rook isn't possible. However, queen takes e6 check. And now having escaped from this pin, bishop takes rook. So we've got a material balance of bishop and knight against rook and pawn. Queen a1 check played, hitting the bishop, but the piece is safe because of bishop e1. So that was some serious calculation that Caruana had to do before he went in for this. I'm guessing that he probably thought all this through before he played e5 actually, because he would have anticipated rook f5. So let's get back to this position. This should be better for white if white can coordinate. So once again, this knight could be key to the position. If that knight can, for example, come to e4, where it starts to threaten black's king, it's securely protected, then things are going to be okay. Yes, I realise that there could be a slight problem there. But, I mean, again, this bishop needs to come into the game as well. But if Caruana can achieve that, then he will have a winning position. So let's see what happens. c5. I think this is Gukesh's only chance to try and create some play here and try and get a passed pawn. Knight g3. Okay, the first step. And yeah, a little tactical sequence here. If Gukesh goes for it straight away with c4, then white wins in a very neat way. I mean, it looks rather dangerous. But king h2. And if d2, that can be taken. And queen b4, double attack. So this is one of Gukesh's problems. That basically his king is less secure than white's. And that means that, you know, very often there are these little tactical tricks that keep Caruana, well, not just in the game, but, you know, actually winning. So very difficult with this exposed king. Rook c6 played. King h2. So the king tucked away very nicely, and that means that this bishop is now able to move. Queen a2 and knight e4. Attacking here, and so this is what Gukesh is doing. He's at least centralized the queen and is still angling for this. f3. But this is solid progress from Caruana. So this knight has come into the game. It's protected by the pawn on f3 and preparing to bring the bishop to g3, which strikes down here but also protects the king. So really, there's only one thing that Gukesh can do, and that's to try and create counterplay by pushing this and using the passed d pawn. Now, it's possible just to take here and play bishop g3. But queen b4 check first. And this gets really, really tricky now. Queen a4. Now, if c3, queen a8, check. Knight f6. forking king and queen, and of course rook takes knight allows queen takes queen. So Caruana is starting to get really tricky, and exploiting the fact that black's king is poorly placed. So king b7, bishop f2, and if c3, this is winning for white. Again, let's just see this, because this is quite scary. Caruana was calculating like crazy. So check here, and once again we've got this very neat tactic. Everything works. So c takes d3, bishop takes d4. So this one is kind of out on its own. If Caruana can clean up, if he can take that d pawn, then he'll be winning. Let's see. Rook a6, queen b4, check. Now the king is exposed. Check. Queen c5. I mean, these pieces look great. Rook e6. Queen c4. Double attack. How does Gukesh get out of this one? Rook d6. So we're at move 45 here. So the 10-second increment has kicked in by this stage. But both players using up a lot of time, and this is so difficult when you're short of time. So tactical. When there's essentially no pawn structure left, which there isn't here in the middle, when these pieces are kind of floating around, then it's all about tactics, and it's so difficult. And that's why this knight is really beautifully placed, because it's centralized, but it's also protected. So rook d6 just played. And yes, if that's taken, then check. And then the pawn will advance. And that's a problem for white. So Caruana played bishop e5. Sorry, let's just go back and see that. So bishop e5. Rook d5. And this is a crunch moment in the game. So there is a winning move here for Caruana. But, oh boy, you need time and you need very strong nerves to calculate this one through. So, okay, time for me to have a drink, time for you to have a think. I've tapped you on the shoulder. No one was tapping Caruana on the shoulder saying, okay, crunch this one through. You can do it. But you've got a big opportunity here. White to play and win. Cheers. White's winning move here is queen a6 check. So the king can't pop out. There'll be a check. So king b8. Rook attacks the bishop, so bishop g3. So this allows d2. Now, there is only one winning move here, and that's bishop f2. Listen, I wasn't expecting you to calculate this one out, but I think it is really interesting. And there's no way that Caruana would have been able to see this, particularly when he was so short of time. So that allows black to make a queen. Check. And bishop d4 check. So that's really important because it breaks the communication here. And then the king gets kicked around and the queen, the queen takes the rook. And the problem is that this king is just getting kicked around. So for example, if it goes back, then the knight joins in, and then the queen comes back, and this is just too much. I mean that one loses instantly to that one. So okay, king f7 check, and you start to take all these pawns, you start checking from the other side. I mean, it's inevitable that black is going to lose material here. Let me see. Are there any other juicy variations? Yeah, queen takes d5. Yes, if king e8, then this is similar. Queen takes h6, and basically sooner or later that queen is dropping, for example. But yes, in order to find these moves, and bishop g3 allowing d2, and then bishop f2 allowing black to make a queen, well, that's impossible in a game. So what did Fabiano do? Well, he played f4. And this gave Gukesh a chance. d2. And now Caruana had prepared this move. Bishop takes pawn. Now, black to play. What are you going to do? Gukesh had nothing on the clock. He was playing on the increment. He made a queen. Bishop takes queen, check. King takes. And after knight c3, Gukesh resigned. So queen and rook are forked, and the rook drops on the next turn. White has a winning position with an extra piece. So what should black play here? d2 is correct. At this point, queen takes c7 is necessary. And it's actually a very strange position. After queen takes rook, queen f4 check. Now if g3, then queen e4. That's okay. I mean, queen takes, you get a new queen, and that's a draw. And knight g3, black just waits. Queen d3, let's say, king c8. It's just a positional draw. Black can't make progress, white can't make progress, because if the king steps away from the pin, then queen takes knight. There's nothing that either side can do. So Gukesh came so close to holding that one. But yeah. So that meant, let's just take a look at the final scores. So Carlsen got a point from that Armageddon game. He finished on 16. Fabiano Caruana finished on 15.5, just a half point behind. I mean, he'd been leading the tournament and then lost a couple. So 16 Carlsen, 15.5 Caruana, Gukesh 14.5, Nakamura 14, Erigaisi 13, Weyi 9.5. What a tremendous tournament. Really, really exciting. I do like this format, actually. For some people, it's a bit too fast. But I think it leads to, real drama. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my coverage. If you want to support the channel, then do subscribe to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess and enjoy extra videos and join in on live broadcasts where I give extra tuition. And anyway, I hope to see you soon. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm going to be commentating live on the FIDE YouTube channel for the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championships that starts in London on Wednesday, the 11th of June. So do join myself and Ivanka Huska for that. Thanks very much for watching. See you.